Hey y'all, it's Sequoia. And see, this how we should know it's pre-Friday. I'm like, I got lipstick on my teeth, y'all. But we are here. It is already August, which is crazy as shit because I swear we just started the new year. But that means we only have, after today's episode, we only have two more episodes this season, and we will be wrapping season two of If You Know, You Know. And if you know, you know, our seasons run from November through October. It's a wonky season, we know, but it's really how we started and we just kept it going through the pandemic. So we just gonna rock and roll with it. But with that, these next couple, so August, September, October, just want to have these really good conversations that really gives us something to apply in our daily lives. We talk a lot about wellness, we talk about mental health, we talk about where white people got us fucked up, right? We talk about it all on the Black Marketers Coalition's If You Know, You Know. But this time wanted to really bring this great gentleman that is from New York, y'all. And I love to excessively say y'all around New Yorkers because that's just how I am. But super dope guy. If you have seen the show before, it should be he should be very familiar because he just spoke with us on Let's Fellowship back in June for Men's Health Month. So if you have not seen If You Know, You Know, Let's Fellowship from June, visit our YouTube channel and it is there because this genius of a brand marketer talked all his shit and it was wonderful. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce my dear friend, Gary J. Nix. He's just everything. If you can't tell, you see that smile. Hey Gary, how you doing?
What's up, people? How you doing, Sequoia?
Listen, we rocking and rolling. It's free Friday, so I'm doing all right. Free Friday ish. Us entrepreneurs, do we ever have a real Friday? I don't know.
Uh, yeah, we got to take it when we actually feel like it. When we seriously feel like it, we take it and we take it for real. But we can't
It's
do it
like,
all the time.
we're Friday-ish, y'all. I had so me and Gary, if you heard this story a little bit if you watched Let's Fellowship, but for those that weren't able to tune in, I have been like having this relationship with him for like a year and some change, maybe 2 years, but it started over the pandemic. Never met this guy a day in my life, but y'all, a couple weeks ago, I got to meet him twice in New York and it was wonderful. So I was so glad to see like all this energy I have behind the screen. I'm like, okay, I hope I'm not catfish. I hope I look like me behind the screen. But I did have the pleasure of meeting Gary in person in New York and in his city. And it's just really good when we can actually get together outside of the screen and just fellowship.
Yeah,
So
it was really fun. Like the in real life stuff is very real, and I'm happy for that.
excellent. Well, I'm glad to. Y'all, this is Gary's contact. We love to make sure everybody knows who we're talking to. So visit his LinkedIn. We have other links for you that I'll show throughout the show. I see we got Kenny Thacker in the house. Hey, Kenny, so good to see you and thanks for coming in. But y'all, Gary, I met him through 100 Roses from Concrete, which is if y'all have followed, if you know, you know, if you followed Black Marketers Coalition, you know how we feel about them. An amazing organization that really focuses on raising up the next generation of talent within the marketing and advertising spaces. So that's how I met him. And Kenny, y'all know Kenny, and I'm gonna shamelessly plug this. And sorry to go off script, but not sorry because this is important. Y'all, they have the chance to go to South by Southwest and be on a panel next year. And all of us here are marketers or marketing adjacent, it's a really big deal. So if you don't know about them, that is their website. Check them out. It's 100 Roses everywhere, LinkedIn, Instagram. But please visit them. Visit our Instagram. Get that link for the South by Southwest vote. I actually think I have it somewhere in here. Or Kenny, drop it in. You can drop it in the chat so people can know to vote. But please vote for them because these gentlemen, they're doing great work. And the students that come out of the program, they are just I can't wait to be rich so I can hire them all and we can cover it. So just want to shamelessly plug that. But otherwise, other things that you guys need to know is visit Gary's site, GaryJNix.com. If you are looking for a speaker, if you're looking to get to know him in this crazy mind that we're about to go into, and much more. And then most importantly, we love to be booked and busy. So the brandarchist.com, check it out. Super sexy website, by the way. So make sure you check it out. If you love that website, what do you think he'll do with your business? So anyways, done with my church announcements part one. Anything I missed, Gary, that you would want to kind of say about yourself or your brand and business? You
No,
ready?
I think people are going to find out more about my brand as we speak and the way I present my answers to the questions. So we good.
All right, well, let's get into it. So, y'all, we were breaking the ice first. So, I have a couple icebreakers for you versus style. So, this whole conversation is about what inflation has done to brands. We know, I think most of us know what it's done to consumers. I mean, I was like begrudgingly pumping gas in my SUV the other day and was like, yes, it's finally under like $50 for the first time in 4 months. So we know it is done to us, but we really want to kind of think about how it went for brands. So let's break the ice a little bit. Number one, shopping small businesses during times like these where everything's expensive as shit at a higher price versus shopping big box at a lower price.
Okay, so what makes this hard versus style is that there's no straight answer. There's no
You got to
objective
give
answer.
one.
No,
One.
I can't give an objective answer to this because it won't help me prove my points before. But
Hmm.
depending on what the person prioritizes, what they find most important, that will be the answer. Is it short-term utility? Then you go lower price. Is it more of what you want and still can get? It's higher price. But the other questions, when I start to really talk about things, will illustrate as to why it's not this simple.
All right, so let's do it this way then. If you are trying to buy one of your brunch hats, that's what I call them, on your head, shop small business at a higher price. That hat went from $200 to $275, or big box, say Nordstrom, and it's $175.
If I'm really loyal to a brand, like the hat that I'm wearing, I'm buying this hat every single time.
Go
I'm
ahead and
either
plug
buying it or
who
going without.
who you got it
This
from.
is Bruno Capello right here.
See, we can't even compete, but that's like we can't compete. I get it. I get it. I get it. All right. See, this is why we have this guy on. All right. This I don't know because you're a city guy, so I don't know. I don't want to call you a city boy because we know that has a different connotation, and I don't know you that way. But for you're a city guy. But if you were a driver like us in the South, higher gas prices or higher groceries?
Wait, which one do I prefer,
Yeah.
or which one? Higher groceries because I love to eat.
All right, all right. So he's all right spending a little bit more. I'm the same way. Listen, I gotta eat, and I'm not. It's just some stuff I'm not eating. I don't care how bad it gets. I will rather eat lettuce than to eat something else because I don't eat pork. So it's just like nah. The other day I had my niece, and for the first time in my adult life, ground turkey was significantly cheaper than ground beef. I've never seen
Oh
it
wow,
ever, and I'm talking
wow.
about like $2 cheaper. Yeah. So I wanted ground beef, so I bought it. So higher groceries for me. Product surplus or product shortage? Which one do you rather in today's economic times?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Go ahead and
Um,
Econ 101. Go back to it.
um, which one I prefer is product surplus. That's what I prefer. But with
Why?
everything that's going on, we've seen product shortage. Um, I like there to be enough for everybody. So I would rather have a surplus.
Hmm.
Especially actually for times like this, because when you have the surplus, you can do more when times is hard, rather than when there's a shortage.
Very true. And you can actually feed the babies that they are forcing people to make. But that's neither here nor there. I won't get into it, maybe. Um, but we do see it through the product shortage of infant formula. Like, how the fuck do we not have baby formula? I mean, I just think there's certain things you got to have by any means necessary. We got to feed old people. We got to feed the babies. That's it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
All right. And then my last, branding versus advertising in today's climate, which one wins?
In every single client over time, as long as time exists, branding wins every time. My company is
Woo!
called the Brand Archist. Yes, branding is going to be my answer. Of course it is.
So, okay, I'm putting you on a big screen by yourself because I have a little record scratch right here. Why do you think that? What go just go in. It could be for like a minute. I don't care. I'm gonna shut up. Why? Why does branding always win?
All right, so I'm old school. I learned about how this stuff works last century, literally, right? And when it came down to what it is that I wanted to get into, advertising, by the definition that I was taught, is figuring out how you're supposed to say the things you're supposed to say. Branding, on the other hand, is about connecting, right? So, is it if someone that you don't really know is like, yo, you should get this thing because it's the greatest thing on earth, and I can show you every objective reason as to why, are you going to listen to them or are you going to listen to the person that you already know that you're connecting with? Is like, yo, this thing is dope. Done. Branding talks about why you're here. Branding talks about what you're here to do for people. Branding talks about the way you want to connect. Branding talks about the service that you're providing and why it's important for this company to provide this service for you. Branding talks about the values that you hold and should match or should should match with the consumers that are purchasing from you. Advertising is just buy me, 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 buy me. It's not effective. And even if it is effective, it's only effective short term. Branding, long term, branding is what breeds loyalty. Branding is what breeds trust. That's what keeps people buying from you. You can't
I,
tell someone to buy something from you. You can only influence them. And influence only works if you're connected.
I mean that's a mic drop. Like I just Lauren, my dear friend, always says mic drop, mic drop. We call it put it on a t-shirt. Okay, that is I just I have no words. I just think that's just, and I come from advertising. And I've, as I get deeper in my career, I realize how niche it is. And I realize the true differences. I think earlier in your career, especially for those of us that studied marketing from an academic standpoint, it's all about marketing as this umbrella, right? And you kind of do everything in it, you know, when you first start out. And I actually had dinner with a few colleagues last night in market research, which I'm also in by way of advertising. But we were talking about even in market research, marketing research, whatever the hell you want to call it, the way you get into it and what you're researching literally is a whole different person. So like there are people that research specifically for brands. There's people that like me, most of my experience comes from researching advertising. Is it effective? Is how much money should you spend? What is your placement? What is competitive? So I can't even disagree with you because I think you even just like schooled me on like, hey, don't forget these fine line differences. They all work together, but I think if I'm hearing you correctly, branding is the roots of all the things that are monetized after it or during. What do you think about that? Is that an accurate statement?
I think, in a sense, I think it's even kind of simpler than that, right? So, for the sake of clarity as well, this is not me coming down on advertising. I
Because
work in the advertising
I'm
industry.
triggered. I'm
Right?
triggered.
This is not me coming down on advertising. What I'm saying is advertising is not enough,
Mm,
and the passion that can make it sound like I have some sort of negative sentiment towards advertising is due to the way advertising has been done and how it has not at scale respected all different parts of this whole system, right? So the thing about the difference between branding and advertising, our company has a saying that, as far as I've researched, is most attributed to George Brand. People do not buy products; they buy brands. So if you want to take advertising, the definition of advertising, that shows you that's not enough, right?
Right.
When we learned, we learned about feature set and stuff because we learned from a standpoint of widgets, which means you have a bunch of products that are equal but have no personality. You have a thing. You're trying to sell a thing, which is the wrong framing in the first place. We get to that. We get back to that in a minute. You have a thing that you're trying to sell. So you have to prove that this thing is going to be more advantageous to people than your competitors, which
Yeah. I love that. And I want to get your opinion on this. See, you going in a way. I'm like, see, y'all, we kind of prep for this call, but the way we roll, this is we get a little deep in here. So I want to get your opinion on this fresh take. So let me see if I can get this going with us. So I saw this post from a page that I really enjoy on Instagram. It's the underscore marketing underscore millennials, y'all. So follow them. They didn't pay me for that. I just truly enjoy their content. And it says, Rolex sells status, not watches. Watches. Supreme sells scarcity, not clothing. Harley Davidson sells a lifestyle, not bikes. Apple sells simplicity and style, not electronics. Great marketing teams sell feelings, not products. Me personally, I think it's more of a great branding team based on what you said. More so, I mean, the marketing team, yes, but then the branding team under it. But what do you think about this? Would this support, refute your thoughts, or are there things you might clarify from your perspective?
I think that this helps support what I'm saying. I think that there may be some nuances that would really take too long to go into, and I think that might have been why this person didn't go into the full nuance, because this is a good overview of why this works. And also, as a person with a company called the Brandarchist, I tell people that I'm a marketer. There is an intrinsic link between marketing and branding. Marketing is a little bit more of the technical side of things and understanding how and why you need to do things a certain way. Branding is figuring out why someone would want to rock with you, though, right?
Hmm.
So Rolex and a lot of other luxury brands selling status, there's a lot of truth to that. The fact that we're selling feelings, that is true, because the widget example, it's basing off of a thought that we are intellectual beings, which we like to keep saying that we are, when we know we're not. We are emotional beings and we are social beings. We use intellect to justify the things that we want to do.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
this. And this is why branding, or as we say, brand as verb, is important. When we talk about brand, we're not talking about the company. We're talking about the actual brand within. All the feelings, everything that's intellectual, everything that's emotional, everything that's going to connect people to want to buy from you. That's what we're talking about, because that's the biggest effect to your revenue
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time.
I think that's very important to understand. And for those that are listening, especially those that are like me, I'm when by the time the advertising happens, all these things that Gary is talking about has already been done. It still happens during real time, so let's be fair there. But by the time I get to it, that shit's already done. Like they want me to put it out there and make sure people convert. So I think this
Well,
is really
hopefully, so I do want to
mm,
break it real quick. Hopefully, it's been done well.
Because then on my end, we get these crappy brands sometimes, and then they're looking for a supernatural miracle through advertising. And I'm like, listen, you are not even set up for success, especially it's one, and I should have pulled this up, but I don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings or their brand, right? But I have noticed there's a lot of people using, there's this particular font that people are using either as a B or a P. If you are a Canva user, you may have seen it in their logo suite. But there are a lot of brands that are using this same exact icon. None of them are trademarked. They're using it, same colors, same type of thing. And I think it's important to think about when we talk about the differences between, marketing, branding, advertising, PR, comms, all that stuff that works together to make these people money, right? I feel like sometimes the expectation from those brands are that these other things can solve for a bad brand. I mean, I just think there's some brands that just are truly missing the mark, and they're either, too close to, you can't distinguish them. And those that have been through the trademark process, as I have been recently, because we're trademarked now, as the Black Marketers Coalition, they ask those questions. USPTO is gonna ask you about your brand colors. There, you have to describe your actual and I wish I had it up here, it's downstairs, but you have to describe the actual logo, the colors, and what this thing means. So if you go to USPTO and thinking, oh, I'm just gonna go in Canva, which I love, but it's a tool, right? It's not the solve for all this stuff. But so if you go on Canva and use this tool with I just want something pretty, I just want something to look nice, right? Yeah, you may look nice, but when it comes to legitimizing your brand, when it comes to using this placement in different things, especially if it's close in, like if yours is the brand artist and mine is the brand influencer or something, and then we have the same colors or the same fonts, whatever, it's not going to do you any justice. You can't outspend that in advertising. So I don't know. I just want to, I guess I just transition into talking about brand marketers setting themselves up for success. I come from, I'm not a brand, I don't consider myself a brand marketer. One of my biggest things I tell my clients that work with the Garys of the world and other folks that do it well better than I could ever, I tell people, protect yourself. Whatever you create, protect yourself. That is out of my personal experience. What do you think about setting yourself up success beyond legal? What are some of those other maybe KPIs or things that brand marketers kind of need to think through when creating brands, or even the small business owners like myself and you?
Yeah. So I think the key, or one of the biggest keys, is understanding the brand as a thread. Um, the brand informs a lot of what you do. That's part of why it's important. It informs how you connect. It informs who you're going to connect with. It informs the kind of stories that you need to tell, the narrative that you're going to work off of. It informs the things that you can and cannot do. So when you put enough work into doing all of that, and you've created something that really makes sense, that resonates with people, it's worth protecting it. And that's where the trademarking process comes in, and is way more important. Because not to say it's not important to trademark your company name or anything like that, but the key is you need to have something that's worth protecting.
Ooh.
You can buy insurance for anything, right? Right? But if you don't care about it, what's the point of the insurance?
Hmm.
Build something that's worth protecting first, and then protect it. Or have something that you know is going to be worth protecting, protect it, and then keep building it, right? But you have to determine the actual importance of what it is that you're trying to build, and not prioritize the making of the money, because of course making money for a business is important. However, while I can't 100% guarantee that having the correct brand architecture and strategy is going to make you money, even though my record can prove that, if you don't do it, I can guarantee you that you will never maximize your revenue.
Mm.
So instead of looking at what you're spending, look at what you're losing. Because there's a lot of companies out there that are leaving money on the table, either not making enough money to survive or making just enough to be happy and pay off your shareholders and the blah, 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 which, yeah, if that's the way you set up, then that's the way you set up. But when you have someone like me or Sequoia or Kenny or a bunch of other people who are in this industry tell you, well, you need to change your view on these things, and it's going to lead you to more money. And we're using the data that we're bringing in from our own studies. We're using data from the McKenzies of the world. And then you're like, yeah, but well, what if we upset the. Well, you know what? To make some people happy, you're going to have to upset some people. Nike Dream Crazy is an example of that. You know, Colin Kaepernick had. Oh my God, I'm going to burn my stuff that I already paid for, and I'm going to have to buy again because the college that I love is licensed by Nike. But you know, whatever. Oh my God, what is Nike doing? Are they going to be in trouble? Next day, literal next day, up 31% from regular, not from the lost day, but from the regular day, because they know exactly who they're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
They understand what their brand is. They understand what they want their brand to look like and who they want to speak to. Any business should be prioritizing those people. So while you
So
can potentially sell to everybody, you need to sell to who actually wants something from you and keep them happy.
yeah, and I think that's a really good point. And being that you brought up fashion, that is one that I do know a little bit about. I had a couple of more higher end brands that at the last agency I worked for before going solo. And something I think they luxury brands namely do very well are product extensions and really branding them different how they need to. So for example, Ralph Lauren, there is difference between Ralph Lauren Polo, Ralph Lauren Purple Label. You know, there's a complete difference. The branding is different. The messaging is different. Now, it has Ralph Lauren has such a powerful brand. I don't care what anybody says. It's one of the most powerful brands when you come to fashion and lifestyle branding. One of the classics. If you study marketing, if you have not studied Ralph Lauren, you might want to check out your professor. We studied it at both the undergraduate level and graduate level in two different colleges in two different states to put that in perspective. And I remember we were talking about how they created a brand that ultimately all it means is luxury lifestyle. That's it. Luxury lifestyle.
Mhm.
And then they went from okay, this is this type of fashion on a higher end. They go into streetwear, and may not be our streets, but somebody's streets, streetwear. But then when hip hop took over, I got hypnotic, exotic, that polo on my body. What happened? All the Negroes start buying polo. I personally, I'm from Georgia, y'all. I had my polo on, my filas on my feet, and my jeans. Okay, that was the style, like what, circa 2006, seven. And I just thought I was great, and I just thought, oh, I buy polo all the time. Nothing of it, but I got real good and grown. And when I went to college, we studied polo, and I learned there's this thing called purple label, and some of the hip hop heads started even talking about purple label in their songs. And I started looking at what purple label was. There is no store in Augusta, Georgia that sells purple label. It's barely some in Atlanta, you know. It's this exclusive part of this brand that I don't know shit about it because it's not for me. So I think it's a very important part you bring up about the emotions and the feelings and really knowing who is meant for what. And I think what I want people to take away from this is that that can even mean within your flagship brand. IHG is another client I had, and they have, I forgot how many, I think it's like 13 different types of hotels around the world. The IHG brand by itself carries a brand that is safe, secure for the business hotel person, right? Business traveler. But you have really different. You got the Crown Plaza, and then you have Holiday Inn Express. Two different brands still under such a powerful brand. And it makes me ask the question, I think some of those brands that I just ramble about, they set themselves up for success. Not, they've had to have some rebranding and little small tweaks along the way. But overall, the daddy brand of it is solid. And then they go into these extensions. I personally think that sets you up for better success. Do you have any opinions about brand marketers being set up for success through kind of that daddy brand and then go down in the line? Or what are some of your thoughts about that?
So I think that the key for people to understand is it's not about brand extension as a solution.
Hmm.
It's about understanding that what these types of brands, especially luxury brands, they understand community. Now, I'm not talking about the understanding of community in terms of who they're picking, who they're letting in and letting out, because that's a completely different story. But from a technical standpoint, in business, they understand exactly who they're talking to and matching the products that they are trying to get them to connect with certain communities,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's something that is extremely important. Nike understands that very well, and I keep bringing up Nike because I did work with them, and when they have you do work with them, they take you through the entire process of like, this is what our brand means, this is who our brand is for, here are our representatives of our brand, not just people who we get to endorse. No, these the reason why, or one of the reasons why athletes have buildings on the Nike campus is because that's the kind of connection that they're trying to espouse throughout the entire process. That's why they have people who are the spirit of Nike, and like these other elements that are connected to the people that they have wearing their clothing and using their equipment. So it's really about understanding community, understanding exactly who it is that you're trying to have buy from you.
Mm-hmm.
Because not who you're selling to, framing things that way, while it makes some logical sense, if you can't make anyone buy, then how much are you actually selling?
Listen, and if you need to figure out who you're speaking with, contact Sequoia Glenn so I can do some really good audience research for you, and then get Gary to go ahead and actually execute on it. But no, I love that. I think it's we oh, I want to shake the table. I'm sorry, I was gonna go a different direction, but I really want to shake the table. If you could plead the fifth. Donald Trump played the fifth the other day, so you can too. If you don't want to go into it, I promise we can move to a different question. But I'm gonna shake this shit up. I have an issue with this notion. There's if you follow Black Twitter and LLC Twitter, we have a lot of Black people that own businesses that have this notion that why do we spend money with the Nikes, the Louis Vuittons, the Ralph Lauren's, and then we don't want to spend money with them. And it's in there, it's like this notion that it's a one-to-one product match, which is not most of the time that I know of, at least. Um, for me, the issue is the one, the brand and the status, and two, because branding is so important. Me and my mom were talking about this. Um, if I go buy a $2,500 Louis Vuitton purse, and mind you, that's the lower end, okay? But if I go buy a $2,500 Louis Vuitton purse, the brand is so strong, as are the materials that are made that are used for those bags, that 10 years from now, if I'm broke as shit, I can go sell that bag at the same price, or if not higher. It's certain luxury goods do appreciate, certain watches, certain bags, because of the material, the brand, vintage, etc. But right now there is this thing, and it just makes my ass itch, y'all, where some Black brands that have not necessarily made it feel that they deserve the same consumer loyalty, the same behavior, the same demand. Can you talk about that? Do you, first of all, do you want to go into that, into your feelings about that?
Listen, we actually broke bread, so you know that I ain't got no reason to hold my damn tongue about nothing.
Okay,
Right?
well, go. I just want to hear your perspective
Okay.
on what you've been seeing and hearing with that.
Okay. So I mean, I've seen some of that even before Black Twitter. You know, I'm 48, so I've heard it for a long time. First thing, foundationally, Black business would not exist without Black people. Simple, objective truth. What happens when we grow is that other people kind of start to like what we've deemed as cool, important, or whatever, and we see that all the time. But the foundation of it all is Black people buying from these Black owned companies. That's the first thing. All right. So for the Black owned companies who's like, oh, Black people don't buy from you, oh, you might need to look into some things in what you're doing because there are other Black owned businesses out here that people are buying from. Right. Um, you want to talk about, luxury and stuff like that. When's the last time you heard a complaint from the people who run Telfar? Last I checked, that's a Black ass owned company,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there has to be some perspective. One, there are a bunch of companies out there that don't have nearly the success as a Louis Vuitton or as a
Mm-hmm.
Nike or anything like that, right? So the perspective of how big your business can actually be, that there needs to be some realism put on that.
Mm.
Two,
Come
the
on,
bigger
reality.
thing, the bigger thing, and this spreads along with I think everybody, is this, and I think it comes from the idea of selling, and sometimes from the worry, right? You are not entitled to anyone's loyalty. You're not entitled to anyone's to gain the ability to influence anyone. That stuff is earned.
You got to pay
You
your
have
dues.
that stuff goes over time. It's not even about paying dues. No one is entitled to someone else's trust. You have to prove it, right? The whole thing about, like, if we take the other side, oh, why does this Black owned company charge so much? I thought they trying to do things for Black people. Well, one, they're probably getting price gouged on the supply side, whether it's because they can't order enough to get that lower price, or they're just being price gouged because they're Black. So some of that is going to end up being passed on to customer, because
Yeah.
that's how business works. You can't just keep selling things at cost.
Yeah. And that, but that oh, that is something I've actually been thinking about bringing to season three. Pricing is not a solution, it's a strategy. And
Right.
I have sat on pricing teams at the corporate level. It is a strategy, and one of the biggest things I want to tell every single Black business owner, including myself, I have to tell myself this: I don't give a fuck about your wedding that you need to pay for. I'm sorry you're behind on your mortgage. I'm sorry that you have a doctor's bill, but that does not justify changing your prices because your situation has changed. You are going to, it has to be a well rounded strategy as to why you're charging the price against the market, against the brand. It's a formula. You can't just be out here willy nilly. I'm not going to go in on somebody, but what I will say, there was someone I really rocked with that went up on their rates $200 a month. $200 a month over what I was paying for a service. I can get this service done 5 times in 1 month going to somebody else that's at the right market price They're not very close comparison. They're a little notch down from the price of what I was paying for, or from the quality I was paying for before. But the overall satisfaction is truly the same. It's actually a little bit greater. People are, I think, one of our issues is that with especially social media telling everybody they're a brand marketer, everybody can do this thing that we do, right? People are starting a lot of small Black businesses are just putting price tags on shit, and there's no strategy, there's no thought, and the money is not matching what is being produced. And thus, here comes the complaints. But then as soon as we complain, you know what we like to say? Well, y'all don't complain to Ralph Lauren. Yes, the hell I do. And guess what? They have a 24-hour customer care line, and they're going to answer. It might be in a different country, but yes, we do complain. We've created this notion, I think, in Black business that we should just shut up and just take it because it's a Black business. And it's like, no, the price of these goods need to match the brand and needs to match the product. If it does not match, if the math's not mathing, I'm not obligated to do shit. And it's something that just it drives me insane. And I just think it's so much misinformation with branding itself, because branding was like the new Black a couple of years ago. Like it was like, as soon as somebody found out a word, woo, we gonna run it in the ground. So everybody, here comes the branding brunches and the branding boss babes and this and that. And you just got people with the same colors, the same fonts, the same aesthetic, the same feeling, to your point earlier. And then boom, that justifies why I should pay $1,500 to go brunch with you to learn about something you are not certified nor qualified to talk about. And I think it leads to this issue that we're having with some of these Black brands, and understanding their place within their own industry and their own product lines that they have going on.
So I think part of that also is realistically, if you have to go up $200 or any significant amount, and it feels jarring, there's a good chance that they weren't pricing their product or service the way it was supposed to be priced in the first place.
That's
and the shock true. And the shock of the $200 increase may actually be really what it should cost, but because you thought that maybe you had to undercut before, put you in a certain level that you're not thought of now. Like when people talk about brand a lot, and that's part of the reason why I have this company for 8 years, they're talking about visual identity, which is this much of the brand, right? In terms of the building, but it comes off as this much of the brand because what your visual identity is supposed to do is to get people to have a better understanding of everything around what it is that you do, why you do it, what your values are, et cetera, manifested in that first point of communication, right? So while colors do match, colors do matter, fonts matter, all those things matter, that one thing that people think, oh, just change it and now everything has changed. No, that thing is not, it's not a standalone. Mm-hmm. It is an amalgam of all the things that you're about. Right.
Well, listen, so I'm not paying $500 for my natural hair a month. I'm not doing it. $550. Let me be very clear.
But here's the thing. But here's the thing. If they put more into the branding elements, like elements, mission, vision, quality, partially strategy, connectivity, all these things that are going to make you say, I don't care whoever's doing this other thing, I'm rocking with you. They're going to understand. They're not going to have to explain in full detail as to why they have to go up $200.
It is.
I mean, it's good to,
especially in cosmetics. It's been a thing.
No, it actually
has been. You got girls out here now, literally charging to part hair. And they're justifying it because they have these 50,000 followers. But I'm not paying you to part my hair. At some point, your branding can't outpace what the market condition is. Like like even right now, there's only but so much unless it is an inflexible good like insulin, heroin.
Right.
You can't,
But
you
here, but
can't,
but
you know.
here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. They could charge more. The problem is the reasoning doesn't math. So there's
Yeah,
more people who follow
yeah,
you. What does that have to do with anything? Why does that
yeah,
matter to me? That's where the problem is. You know how little a lot of those luxury goods cost? But because they've given you this whole idea of who they are and got you to agree,
yeah,
you're paying $2,500 for the lower purse. And it's not because they white, because they've been around for a long time. I mean, the fact that they
yeah.
can do
That's
this
true.
with less pushback, that
That's true.
that can be part of that. Them being white can be part of the problem there. But we have to actually go and look at the things that they've built over time, which
Hmm.
which are in trust, which are in the ability to influence, the ability to persuade,
And I think
the
a little bit of
like a certain
being
lack of entitlement.
and I think a little bit I will add to what you're saying there is also establishing authority within the space. Because that's another part I think of branding that people don't talk about is establishing authority and trust in the space to be able to also justify Telfair. You brought up that brand, the greatest Giovanni Rayleigh, y'all that have been around the BMC. She is our director of social media. She's amazing. One night we were having a little wine, and I will never forget this. This was about a year ago. And Telfair, it was when Beyonce wore Telfair, and they sold out. She said vegan leather is the greatest rebrand of all time. And I said, what? She was like, it's just pleather. And I was like, holy shit. They have identified what the customer is into now, veganism. A lot of people are starting to be that they are trying to reach, are trying to be a little more earth friendly, conscious buyers who are willing to pay a little bit more for it to be better for the earth. From a generational perspective, liquid asset perspective, that's what their target. So they've rebranded, and not just Telfair, other people have too, but vegan leather is the thing. And I was like, they establish trust through the right influencers, not just people that's 20,000, 30,000. People that know high fashion, the Beyoncés, the and all Michelle Williams. There's Sex in the City had Telfair placement in their Sex in the City the show. Even the white women, they have strategically placed, and I don't know if it was an influencer campaign or just simple somebody bought it. I don't know the story behind it, but I will say the people that have helped Telfair establish trust in the last 2 years, those people are used to high fashion. And I believe, I hypothesize that because those people are no high fashion and buy high fashion, ultra luxury goods, brands that we don't even know exist, they've helped Telfair establish that brand trust that this quality, this brand is still fashionable, is high quality, and it just happens to be vegan leather. And I think that's Telfair's greatest asset has been those people that already are trusted in the fashion industry to help establish their trust, if that makes sense.
Yeah, two things because I also you want to make sure we talk about inflation. Um, when I speak about influence, I'm not talking about influencer marketing. Influencer marketing is a complete bastardization of what influence is, right? No disrespect to people who are influencers. That's not. I have no problem with them. I have a problem with an industry the way they use influencer, which I've had a problem with that for a very long time. It's about influence. It's about trust. However, they were able to connect with those people, the trust that people have in Beyonce, the trust that people have in these people who they feel, whether it's objective or not, who they feel have the know how, that trust is being lent to Telfar business. That's why it works, right? So, and I want to say it like that because I don't want the solution. Oh, influencer marketing is a solution.
Well,
No,
let's
we
be
need
very
to.
clear. I did not say influencer marketing. I
Oh, no, no,
said,
no.
I'm like, let's
Right.
be very clear for the audience.
Yeah.
There are people whose influence who
Yes.
are already in the space. Two different two different things, just for the record, for
Right.
those listening in.
Right.
Um,
Um, but it's I know how people can sometimes look for the quick solution. And part of what
yeah.
we're talking about here is the solution. There's no quick solution that's going to be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
You have to you have to fix things at the foundation because if the foundation of your house sucks, it doesn't matter how beautiful it is, it's going to sink.
Yes. Oh, that's another put it on a t-shirt. Well, y'all, listen, we only have 10 more minutes, and I want to round us out with thinking about right now. Because this is good. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have Gary back like two more times. We do a couple master classes on this thing. So with all that we talked about today, we talked about exactly what branding is, how you help people solve for that, create them or recreate them. We talked about a lot about consumerism around brands. So, like, kind of like you built the brand, now what? But the issue right now, I think that is challenging every single marketer between Meta changing every freaking format of social media every day. Y'all, that's been a shit show. But between that, but seriously, is this economy? We can't predict anything. And I'm a researcher, y'all. So we do a lot of modeling, predictive modeling, hypotheses, testing. This is the first time in my 11-year career that I'm just like, every time it just changes. And I'm just like, y'all just tell me what y'all want. Cause I just can't model it almost right now. Inflation's very bad. You know what brands that I'll give you Southwest, for example. Southwest is one of the economy brands in airlines for those, especially those that may not fly as much. So Southwest is in a group that there's like economy, then there's like a little bit down, a little bit cheaper than economy. I can't remember the name of that. And then there's your, in ups, right? They're regulars and then luxury, and etc. Southwest has successfully over the years been a very low cost provider that's low cost, high value, right? It may not have seat assignments, but they have snacks on even short flights, or they may not have certain business classes in the aircraft, but they fly a couple of places that other people can't fly to direct, and so on and so on and so on, for a very low price, usually about $100 to $200 less than some of your big boys like Delta, American Airlines, et cetera, United, and all the other ones, Emirates, et cetera. But now I'm a frequent flyer. I travel a lot. Southwest is no longer the most affordable flight. I am now starting to find flights cheaper or the same price as Southwest, like on Delta, even. And for me, the perks at Delta, they accumulate faster than Southwest, but also you pay more. So it makes sense. So brands, I think, are a little bit confused, especially value brands, on kind of how to position. In Southwest, I don't know if you saw this, but they actually created a new class of ticket for the first time in however many dozens of years. That's called Wanna Get Away Plus. That gives you almost the flexibility of the highest ticket, but it's not the cheapest ticket. But it appeals to a certain type of buyer that wants a little more lux, but it's like, why am I paying more for Southwest tickets? So they create this new class, and to me, it's a little confusing, quite personally, because I'm like, what's the real difference? It's still the same airline. But I think groups like Southwest, Dollar Tree is another one. They just went up on their prices. For the homeowners, if you have ADT, you just got your email that says they're going up $4.35, and they're supposed to be a low cost provider. I think a lot of brands just don't know what to do with today's economy. So it leads me to this final question for you. Are there brands, this is twofold, are there brands that you think have made very bold branding decisions to retain their customers in today's economy? And in that, do you have any bold predictions of what is about to come from a branding perspective in such a deeply uncertain time?
Okay. So forgive me for answering it this way, but I think it has to, especially since we're kind of short on time. The answer has to be about more about who's doing it right. And The key is understanding that your business has to be more about value than is about price. The key is to understanding how branding helps you do that. When you look at companies, and forgive me for bringing this company up again, Nike's prices don't change.
Mm-hmm.
They don't change. Like, yes, over long periods of time they do, but they pretty much stay around the same, and they were able to continue to charge as much because they have a connection. They have a connection to the person. If you have convinced someone or you connected to them in a way that they want to buy from you, they're not going anywhere. It's about long-term value. And all the quick changes that you see are coming from companies who did not completely respect that. When you had to make quick decisions based on price, that means you didn't put that you probably did not put the amount of attention to value that you should have. There's a difference between having to make this quick right turn to do something to try to get your business back or a brand extension. A brand
Mm.
extension is very clear. A brand extension is like, okay, here's what we have. Here's how we're gonna help you understand it. If you still got questions, come over here, check this out. Come ask us, whatever the case may be. But a lot of the knee-jerk reactions, a lot of which that are around inflation and the fear that people are not going to buy as much, take some stock of yourself and see why they wouldn't want to buy from you. Yeah, there's some cases where they're just not going to be able to do it right now because of the way things are, and you have to be ready for those things to happen as well. Your job is to do as much as possible to make sure that people are going to continue to want to buy from you because you have competition, you have, financial stuff, you have socio-cultural stuff, you have all these things that are always going to be these things that you can't control, that you're not going to understand, when it's going to change and stuff like that. What you can control is making sure that you create the best relationship with your customer that you can, so they will keep coming back to you. They'll even come talking to you about the problems they're having with these other people, right? Show your value. That's what's going to keep people here. And showing your value on a regular basis is one of the biggest things that branding does. Now, the bold prediction is the fact that these companies are going to learn this at a quicker pace, and especially with Web3 coming along, and the need to understand how influence works, how community works, and how people actually are taking back some of taking the reins of some of what they've created is going to happen. Let's see how these companies who are right now just trying to figure out where they fit in the space and how they can be the owners of the space that they can't own, that they have to share. Let's see how many companies survive that. How many companies change for the better? How many change for the worse? How many don't survive?
I just, y'all, I can listen to this man all day, every day. See, now I'm about to be texting you and be like, hey, what you think about this? What you think about that? But no, y'all, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for sharing your energy and your knowledge, schooling me and our viewers. If y'all want to hear more about this topic, Gary's going to do a white paper on this, and I am very excited. We will be sure to include it in our newsletter that comes out next Thursday. But you can, here's the link for those that are tuning in: www.thebranderkiss.com/inflation inflection. I'm just blown away always. I'm never, I don't know. I always get nervous before these calls and I'm like, I don't know why. These are my friends, and they all are very smart and they're all very talented. And can I just say rich too? All my friends are just like, we carry ourselves a certain way because that's how we want to be addressed. So Gary, thank you. I appreciate you. And I'm going to wrap us up with a few last minute housekeeping things. So thank you so much. And y'all will get his information. You can get it on LinkedIn or in our messages. You'll see it and I'll make sure I send it out. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
As always, it's a pleasure speaking with you.
Absolutely. Well, y'all, I am blown away per usual by our wonderful guest, Gary J. Nix. He is just everything. I'm so glad that we were able to talk with him today. We do have two quick announcements. I personally want to say thank you to every single person that celebrated BMC's Big Three. We are now 3 years old. Special thanks to our sponsors, Ebony Marketing Systems, Data X, Esquire Her, and Sola Day Olson. I truly appreciate you, Catherine. I appreciate you. She's wonderful as well with the Black Lady Business School. I just thank everybody that has really brought BMC to year 3. I can't do it without y'all. And the last part after thanking our sponsors, also thank you, the Level 8 agency, for always sponsoring If You Know, You Know. The very last thing is, y'all, 2 more episodes until season 3 of If You Know, You Know. So please get your journals. They take about a week to come to you, a week and a half. So get your journals. It's on our site, blackmarketerscoalition.org/shop. If you can't tell already, If You Know, You Know is extremely insights and action driven. So please get your journal so you can keep these notes and really build those relationships as we do. But y'all, it's been real. It's been fun. I am Sequoia Data Bay Glenn, and we are done. See y'all same place, same time next month. Talk to y'all soon.